at the end of the day, we're salespeople, but I market myself as a solutions expert. I don't use my dealership's business cards. I create my own business cards that instead of it saying sales associate, leasing consultant, I say solutions expert.
M3. Welcome to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast,
M3.
the #1 resource for automotive sales professionals, managers, and owners
M3.
to learn how to make money, accumulate wealth, and to all out ball out in the auto industry. And now your hosts, Sean V. Bradley and L.A. Williams.
1, 2, 3, 4,
M3.
What's going on, everybody? This is the one and only L.A. Williams, the Blind Master, and I am pumped up, fired up, super excited. I don't have Mr. Sean V. Bradley today. However, I do have my main man, Mr. Anthony Castillo. What's going on,
What's going on, man? Good morning.
Hey, good morning, man. Appreciate you being here. You know what I'm saying? You're taking out your time and your busy schedule and everything like that, doing your thing, making money, right, to come have a conversation with us and our listeners in the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, man. So, man, I know we was kind of chatting a little bit before the recording, man. You was telling me about your awesome story. Man, I'm like, man, I know there's a lot of people out there who are listening to this podcast today, and they're like, man, I want to take my career to the next level. Yeah, maybe I'm in the BDC, or maybe I'm on the sales floor and I'm only selling a certain amount of cars, but I want to double or even triple my income. Based on what you were sharing with me, the stuff that you got to share with them today is going to tell them exactly how to do that. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. Awesome. It's good to hear. All right. So with that being said, before we get all the way into it, I want to hear about a little bit about your background, because most people don't wake up and say, oh, mommy, daddy, I want to go sell cars, right? So tell us about where your story began. What were you doing before you got in the automotive industry? Maybe I'm just thinking you might have probably been, in high school, you was one of them straight A students and, perfect attendance and perfect behavior and all that. Is that what was going on?
In high school, yeah, I actually did pretty well in high school, but it's crazy. I had some issues with my mother's health, and it kind of got in like the way of like my focus in high school, and I ended up dropping out, believe it or not. So like, even though I was really good at school, there was kind of stuff that got in the way and kind of led to me getting into a lot of trouble when I was younger, which kind of got me into construction, right after I got out of high school. I never went to college or nothing like that. I got my GED. For sure, my mom made sure if I was to do anything, I had to get that for sure, at the least. But as far as like ethics in school, I was pretty good at school, but eventually dropped out, and went to construction.
100%. Okay, cool. So, all right, you get in some trouble. You're like, all right, well, at least I could build some stuff. And you get into construction. What was that like? Was it like straight 8-hour days, and it was like just maybe a little hard labor or something? Tell me the story of that.
I mean, as far as hours, at least 12 hours a day. Wow. That was kind of like standard, and that kind of built up like an endurance for like how long I can actually work in a day, as far as like fast forwarding to sales. But just keeping it back there, I was kind of bred on like working 12-hour days. That's like what I know as a work day. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I started off like in painting parking lots. So I'm in parking lots all day on top of blacktop asphalt, the sun reflecting off of it, which does come back in later to selling cars too. Yeah. But I started in the parking lot painting the spots for people to park their cars. Wow. And I didn't even know that was a job before I started doing that. I never even considered the guys who put like the lines there for us to park our cars in. And even though people still park like crazy, if we didn't have them, it'd be a nightmare.
Absolutely. No, I totally understand where you come from. All right, cool. And the thing is, you were based out, you were doing a construction that was in Georgia, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh my God. So you really want to talk about hot sun beating down on you and everything like that, man? Listen, we ain't going to talk about 400 years ago, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Humidity, everything like that, it ain't no joke down there.
I totally understand. All right, cool. So somehow you get introduced to the automotive industry. Tell us that story real quick.
All right. Well, like what had me kind of transition to the automotive industry is that after getting like dead sick of construction, especially doing that in the South, not much room for growth there. I had a good friend of mine who was on his baby steps into the automotive industry too. And he was telling me how much of a good time he was having there, how much money he was making there. He was telling me like in his first month, he made like 4Ks, just making phone calls. And I was like, that kind of piqued my interest, but I was still hesitant. Like, nah, man, I work with tools. I'm not trying to talk on the phone because it wasn't immediately into the showroom.
Right.
So it was like, I was kind of hesitant. And then when I did get sick of it, I was like, fine. Like if it don't work out, I can go back to construction, worst case scenario. But I don't know if I don't try.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay, cool. And that's exactly how I think a lot of people have to think whenever they're taking a look at doing something new. It's like, hey, listen, what's the worst that can happen, right? If it doesn't work out for you, have that fallback plan and all that. But if you make a decision that you're going to be successful in what it is that you do, you ain't got to worry about that, man. So I love that. I love that you had a buddy that said, listen, man, you can work smarter, not harder. That's basically what he said to you, right?
Yeah, essentially.
Okay, cool. Now, your friend, tell me about your friend, because me, they call me the blind master and all that stuff. I always tell people, listen, I got 4 senses and you got 5. So why in the world can I be more successful than you? That doesn't make logical sense to me. Tell me a little bit about your friend, because as far as I know, he doesn't have all his faculties or, normal, the regular ones. How does that work? Break it down.
Well, I met him while I was in construction. It's funny because I met him inside of like a vape store, just stopping by there. But when I first met this guy, very interesting. We clicked off of music, but he does have his feet amputated, right? He was born with a condition where his hands developed in a certain way and his feet developed in a certain way. But in order for him to walk comfortably, he decided to get them amputated, one as a baby, the other one as a teenager, right? And like the moment since I met this kid, he was just progressively like going out there and getting stuff, and he was homeschooled. So like we came from completely different backgrounds, and he doesn't really like to hear excuses, and like at first,
like
I was like, he's like, what the, like at first, he was like, what are you complaining about? You know what I'm saying? And I'm like when he really sat me down and told me all those things, and I was like, damn, like really, I'm making a big deal really about nothing. And he was the one who introduced me to the automotive industry. And he's like, look, I'm making just as much, if not more than you are. And I'm sitting at a desk talking to people on the phone. And he's like, you're more social. And like at the time, and I always told him, I'm like, bro, you're charismatic as hell, but like at the time, he was like, you're more social, you're more talkative than me. Bro, you could do this, if not just as good as me, probably better, And like, when he kind of like told me like he's making just as much, if not more money than me, I was like, all right, you taking shots. Cool. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, and then he was the one that said, if it doesn't work out, go back to construction. Then you can prove me right. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, all right, you're trying me again. Let's do it. I was like, all right, that I put in the application the next day, and he's the one who kind of like TO'd my interview with the hiring manager over there and got me in there. But essentially, I mean, he was out here doing things, way bigger things, making bigger moves than me. And on top of that, he's like several years younger than me. So I was like, whoa, like he's like a couple steps ahead of me, and I'm a couple years older than him. So I got to really reevaluate what I got going on. Because before, he's super intelligent. Before, I was just hanging out with the homies. You know what I'm saying? And he was the one that really had me like kind of thinking different for the first time.
Yeah, no, I love that, man, because I think it's important that we be inspired in some way, shape, or form. So many times, we just, we think life is just, it is what it is. No, but you need a catalyst, right? You need somebody to drop an ingredient in you that just kind of makes you explode, right? Gives you that boom mentality. That's exactly what we're looking for, man. So, all right, so you get in the automotive industry. I know that they told me that you started in the BDC, but let's talk real quick because I want to make sure that my car salesman listen, because everybody be like, oh, nobody want to listen to a BDC agent. Okay, well, my man sells cars right now. And tell us, what is your best month selling cars? Break that down for us real quick.
27.
27 cars.
Yeah, with no rollovers.
That's beautiful, right? Because, again, the average car salesman back in the day was 9.6. Now it's like 8 units a month, right? Now, I know grosses might be a little bit better and all that old nonsense, but still, I mean, come on now. You come to work every day, whether it be 24, 25. Look, I know everybody don't work 30 days, but you know what I'm saying? The 24 days a month, and then you only sell 8 cars. That's like one car every 3 days. That's ridiculous, right? So what we got to do is we got to make a decision that we're going to be successful. So I love that, 27 cars. All right. So before we get into, because I know obviously 27 cars put some money in your pocket, right? We don't talk about that. But tell me, actually, you know what? I do want to know that. Tell me, when it comes to when you sold 27 cars and you're doing this and everything, how much money does that put in your pocket? Let's just say, you could say on an annual basis, monthly basis, whatever the case may be. And then compare that to construction for me real quick.
So 27 cars a month would be, and depending on how much I gross on all the units and stuff like that, but roughly between like 23 and like 27,000.
Every single month. That's fire. Okay, so but tell us. So I know that was your best month. So what did you? Let's just, because I know you've been selling cars for about a year. What did you do your first year selling cars versus your last year in construction? Break that down.
My first year selling cars, and I always count it as like the half year, because the first half of the year I was kind of like warming up.
Yeah, which is even better.
But starting from at least July when it clicked for me, and then everything in total was 110. And wow. I figured like if I had it clicked in January, it probably would have been double that. But at least working off of that from July, so on and so forth, I was able to like skyrocket my numbers from what I was at for the first half of the year.
That's crazy. Okay, and then what about your last year in construction? What were you making?
My last year in construction was probably
you can say your best year, whatever.
My best year was probably like 40,000.
Wow. That's what I was talking about, man.
And that was with a lot of sweat and long hours, too.
Yeah, man, I hear you. And what's crazy is, again, you basically tripled your income, didn't even really make a lot of money your first 6 months. That was your tuition period, you know what I'm saying? You was paying the price, you know what I'm saying? But then the second half of the year, man, I'm telling you, I'm sure that holiday season for your family was like totally different. Oh, yeah. Break that down for us. Awesome. Tell us about that holiday season, that December, and compare it to what was happening when you were in construction, just for your family, just like people who are close to you.
Well, interesting enough is like when I decided to get into like showroom sales, I did a huge move, and I moved actually away from my family because I was in a relationship with this woman. And now she's my wife, right? Awesome. But at the time, I was like, look, I got to make a move. And we had discussed moving to Colorado. We was talking about it. And at first I was like, I'm going to do it, but I don't want to uproot everybody while we got the support system here with the family and everything. So I took the chance and I moved across the country. I was like, look, if the military draft was still a thing, I could be going to war right now, but I don't want to have like the backup plan of being like, oh, look, I can go back to my mom's house if it don't work out. Right. So I kind of like to operate with my back up against the wall.
Love it.
So first thing is I moved across the country. So my first year in sales, I actually spent it away from my family, but I did make it down there for the holiday season, which that was amazing because I was able to help my wife get a car, like a brand new car, because we was driving old. My car before that I had right now was a 96 4Runner. Now I have like a 21 Subaru. I know we're at 23 and 24s now, but that was new when I had started. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But my kids, I went down there with like a whole new wardrobe before them. I was getting them ready for Colorado because I was like, look, I'm about to, and like it was easy for them because they grew up with the internet, FaceTime and stuff. So it's like it wasn't like I was as far away. For me, it was a lot tougher because I'm like, damn, I'm the one that's actually away from everybody.
Right.
But that was my motivation because I'm like, I want to get my family out here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But as far as life changing, the holiday season, everybody got new digs. My wife got a new car, and I got them a new house.
That is beautiful, man. I'm telling you. And see, that's what we're fighting for. You know what I'm saying? We want to be able to, it's not about the material things. It's like what we can provide for our families, man. So I love that. All right. So that's what's happening right now. But tell us about, because you did a 2-year stint, I'm just going to call it, right, in the BDC. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that. So your friend gets you the job, you know what I'm saying? And you obviously still interview and you do well and all that good stuff. So you get started, right? Did it naturally come to you because you are a great speaker, you speak well, and you get along with people? Break that down or was there some sort of tuition period as far as the BDC?
There was a tuition period there too.
Okay.
So at first it was rough because like I knew how to work on computers, but I didn't know how to work with computers. You know what I'm saying? And
construction guy, yeah, I got it.
And the BDC is like at that location, they call it the GEC, and I ran internet leads for 7 BMW stores across the country. And it was, one, difficult because I didn't have the cars in front of me. I couldn't tell if cars were there, you know. 2, they trained me to go really, like, to make these emails and stuff, like, to stand out and be different with my emails and the way I reach out to people, which they were 110% right about it. But once I started doing it, they hated it because I was like taking 10 minutes to write an email in the morning when I have to get these leads cleared and reach out to people. Exactly. So the one thing, it was kind of natural because I make music and I rap and I write lyrics. So when I talk to people, it's like freestyling, and it's like I meet them, they say something, I could bounce off of them. And like, with my emails and talking to people, that's kind of what I was doing. If I saw something in the notes that they submitted on their leads, I would like compliment their idea and make it really personable to kind of stand out from them. But at first, no, it wasn't, I didn't just walk into the park and it was easy for me. I had this manager, Miss Lynette, is the one who like cracked down on me. And I always say that she's militant, and she's ex-military too. But like, she was the one that was cracking down on my lead response time. And she was like, you got to pick it up. So that's when I started focusing on like trying to get them in and just get the appointment set up so I can send them into the store.
Nice. All right, cool. So you was telling, now here's the thing. I guess you still do rock with the music and stuff like that?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, you got to make sure you send me some stuff. And if, you know what I'm saying, it's really popping, what I'll do is I'll drop it right before we go to break or something like that. And that way everybody gets to not only hear you talking about what you did great in the automotive industry, but they get to experience some of your music as well. I think that would be kind of cool. All right.
Well, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
All right, 100%. All right. So tell me this, man, because you were telling me a story about you in the BDC, and they had a relatively low standard, right? They were talking about that you had to set how many appointments a day, and then tell me what you were doing and how you were doing it. Their standard was like 3 appointments a day. You got to make 50 calls to at least get 3 appointments a day. That's like their statistic math on how it worked out. And we had Ford, Honda, Nissan, Chevy, Acura, all in the same building, as well as BMW, and that's who I worked for. And 3 appointments a day. My warming up, like I was getting, like if I'm just warming up for the day, it was at least 10. And it was consistent 10 to where I was setting at least 300 appointments a month. You know, and I wasn't working 30 days. Yeah. So some days I was doing like 15, 20, and then some days I was hitting like 11 or 12. But like to the regular person in that BDC department, and there was guys, and there was men and women there who were working there for 3-4 years before I even started.
So like they know the process, they know everything that they do, but they were more comfortable because they didn't come from a construction background. And I saw the opportunity. I was like, damn, y'all making good money out here, and I'm used to, making half of what you make, and all I got to do is talk on the phone. So let me dial it up a notch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, going from 3 to 10, and then on the normal 15, very good days, 27. But like the way I kind of got there, and like the company I work for kind of looked into it because they didn't think that everything I was doing was authentic. But what I'm kind of known for is how quick I can adapt, right? So at first I was having like, I was surrounded by people at BMW. They're like, yo, BMW customers are different. Yo, they're not Honda customers. Honda customers are walking through the door. You say you want that Honda, they're coming through the door. The BMW is like, well, do you have the Alpina, or do you have this in this color over here, and like with the cognac interior? So they're very like whatever.
Specific.
And like to me, I'm like, I was at first I kind of like I was buying into it, but then I'm like, you know what? Like this is I just started being more personable with people. And I would ask them, and they were hesitant. There'd be people like, oh, no, I can't come in today, And I'm like, all right, well, how do I get around this like speed bump, And like the stores didn't necessarily love us at that BDC department because we weren't physically on site. And sometimes we set up appointments for cars that are sold, But what I had to do to kind of like start getting the store connected with these internet leads is I would give them like false positives. I would talk to somebody on the phone. If I would ask them like, oh, you're not available to come in. All right. Is there maybe a good time later on today or tomorrow that you can take a phone call from my internet manager? And they'd be like, yeah, I could tomorrow, like around 11, I'll be available. And I'll say, all right, what I'll do is I'll set up the phone call for 11:15. If that's all right with you, just to give you some time to get ready. And I'll have my manager reach out to you so he can go over any types of concerns or questions you have with the vehicle. And for the store side of things, I would set the appointment at 11. So by 11:15, when my customer's expecting the phone call, the store is like looking left and right. They're at the stairs in front of in the stoop of the store looking for the customer to pull up. And they're like, yo, where's this appointment supposed to be at? So the internet manager at that point would turn around and reach out to the customer and say, hey, just wanted to see if you were still, coming by today. And they're like, oh, no, actually, I'm not able to make it in, but I'm glad you called because I have some questions. So the reason why Asbury had this GEC is because the salespeople are good at the face-to-face stuff and like when they come into the showroom, but they were butchering internet leads that the company's paying for.
Right.
So like I would connect them directly with the internet manager. He picks their best salesman to get them set up when they come in. But essentially, I would be able to address all the customers' concerns and then get them connected to the person who is really, if you're in the showroom, you know that you got to go to the tower and you can ask them questions, but you lose integrity there. But if I'm not in the showroom and I just need to get them connected and get them sales, then I'm putting them with the person who's making the decisions. Because at that point, there was such a high turnover rate at these actual stores with salespeople, I couldn't necessarily develop a relationship to send them appointments like that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So here's what I love about what you're saying, because a lot of people are like, oh, he was cheating, he was this. No, here's the deal, right? When your store doesn't have a system, a proper system for TOing, right? A guy got to do what he got to do, right? And so what I love that you did, first of all, you created a forced TO process. One of the things that we always talk about is how valuable the TO is. How you should, as a manager, you should be talking to every single customer. So what Anthony did, he said, okay, I'm going to find a way to force the managers to talk to my customers, right? I'm not just going to put them in front of a salesperson. That doesn't even make no sense. They already don't like these leads. So again, how they look at it is, oh, this is no good. So, and then they treat it like it's no good, and then they get no good results, and then they wonder why, right? So I love that you did that. Secondarily, here's the thing. Nowadays, nowadays, folks are figuring it out. Everybody not figuring it out, but we got a client, right? I'll just shout them out. Bob Ruth Ford. They have a system that's exactly what you just laid out, right? You got people who, they can set appointments in the BDC, but they also set up these proposals, right? And I won't give away trade secrets and all that kind of stuff, but man, I'm telling you, like exactly what Anthony just discussed is what they're doing. And this is the reason why they went from, outside of, the coaching and things like that, the reason why they went from 75 units out of the internet department to 320 units out of the internet department, literally because they figured out a system, understanding that everybody's not going to just sit up there, just bring them in, just bring them in, just bring them in. Sometimes they have questions that as a BDC agent, I may not necessarily know how to answer, or sometimes they just want to get a second voice. It's that second voice syndrome, right? The TO. Sometimes a manager can jump in, say the same exact thing that the coordinator said, and the person's like, oh, that sounds so great, right? It's just how it works. So I love what you just laid out. You just created a system. And listen, so what, you had to, quote unquote, bend some rules to do it, right? If no one's going to create the system, then dadgummit, you're going to have to create it yourself. So I love that, man. That's fire. So you was rocking and rolling. And then they told you, hey, you know what? You got to get you got to get to the showroom. You jumped in the showroom. You started selling 20 plus cars a month. 27 was your best month. I just want you to take a second. Matter of fact, when we come back from break, I want you to tell folks the keys to making money in the automotive industry. Hold on one second, though. Don't tell them right now. We're going to be right back.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Dealer Synergy is an award-winning training, consulting, CRM, recruiting, and accountability firm. We are a 13-time Dealer Choice Award winner. We have proudly served automotive dealers for 20 years and have trained over 150,000 automotive sales professionals. We've worked with over 3,700 rooftops across the country, not including our global clients in Canada, Russia, the Dominican Republic, and more. We are the most sought-after subject matter experts and pioneers of the automotive industry. Our executive team has a combined 75-plus years of automotive industry expertise at the highest level. We've literally taken dealerships from having challenges and problems, some even on the brink of bankruptcy, to becoming national success stories.
Dealer Synergy had really helped build something from the ground up. You guys have made me fall in love with what I've always loved to do. I give credit to Dealer Synergy.
I just hired 8 people, and Dealer Synergy HR really was critical in me being able to do it.
You provided the training, you helped us with our CRM. You provided a solution for a lot of things that I was looking for. Our people loved LA, what Karen has done for me personally. Franca, her communication back and forth. You've got a really solid group of people.
Having somebody like Sean and his company that knows automotive, so the marriage between what knowledge he possesses and the fact that he has this great video production staff, it gives you the best of both worlds. So I would certainly recommend them.
Sean comes in the dealership and he advanced us light years ahead of our competition.
Just an absolute leading edge training company.
Go to BradleyOnDemand.com and give your team access to the best automotive training in the world.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back and we are going to discuss the keys to success in the automotive industry. But before I do, quickly, I forgot just that fast, right? We said we was going to play some of Ant's music, you know what I'm saying? So real quick, is there a music name that's different than your personal name?
Volcano Joe or Joel.
Okay.
It depends on how I'm feeling, but it's artist name is Joel.
Joel. All right, cool, man. So what we're going to do, so real quick, cue up this joint we about to play. Tell them about it. Tell them about the thought process behind it, all that good stuff so they can enjoy it real quick.
So I wrote this song real quick when I got really good at that. This is still in my BDC department phase. When I was setting at least 10 appointments a day, and I made like my first real fat check with setting up those appointments and helping them solve
Tell them
those
how much
cars.
it was. Tell them how much it was.
At the BDC, my first good check there was probably like 11 or 12,000 in a month.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and that was making phone calls and not even sitting in front of people.
Fire. All right, cool. Keep talking about the song, though. Tell them about the song.
This song's actually talking about making like the active decision to work different, to leave the rat race of everything I was doing in construction, and how making 8 appointments, 10 appointments a day is how I made it by at that point in time. And that was success for me. But Now we're way past that, but at that point, that was the energy there, and I still think it translates till today.
Absolutely. All right, check this joint out, man. The one and only Mr. Volcano Joe. Check it out.
I had a dream, I had the vision of getting the bag today. I'm going all in, I'm built way too different, I'm dropping these raps today. It's all in my hustle, this shit can't be taught, it's part of my anatomy. Be tripping and be lying just cause they mad at me. Bitch, I'ma close today, it's way above 8. I'm more like a 10 and that's on a bad day. I'm leaving the rat race, I'm getting this money, this used to be sideways. Shit could get ugly, you playing with money, you just gotta listen, you ain't gotta love me. I'm making these numbers, there's no one above me. You think that I'm playing, I keep the tab running. And that's no cap. Shawty, you should let me meditate. Take notes while I demonstrate. Gain strength from my interface. Really wanted something better. Dazed and confused. I've been in my ways, I've been in the booth. Well, I'm just letting it loose. I'm hanging the rope, but I ain't tying the noose. I hope you're amused by all of the jiggy things that I do. I'm good on the Henny, I got me some juice. I'm good on the tree, man, I need me a view. Many miles in between, yeah. I don't know what that mean. Got a backpack full of dreams. Y'all don't understand what that means. I've been under stars with no sleep. Yeah. I tend to my flames with my devilish ways. Yeah, I'm walking with faith, but I'm setting shit straight. I'm ahead of the fleet, boy, I'm leading the way. I know deep inside will it all be okay. Yeah. Well, I had a dream, I had the vision of getting the bag today. I'm going all in, I'm built way too different, I'm dropping these raps today. It's all in my hustle, this shit can't be taught, it's part of my anatomy. Be tripping and be lying just cause they mad at me. Bitch, I'ma close today, it's way above 8. I'm more like a 10 and that's on a bad day. I'm leaving the rat race, I'm getting this money, this used to be sideways. Shit could get ugly, you playing with money, you just gotta listen, you ain't gotta love me. I'm making these numbers, there's no one above me. You think that I'm playing, I keep the tab running. And that's no cap. And that's no cap.
And that's no cap. Yo, I heard that joint drop. I'm like, yo, that is fire. I already could tell. First of all, you had your delays right. You were subdividing the beat the way it's supposed to be done. That was fire, bro. I can tell why you're successful. I see that. All right, cool, man. So listen, success breeds success. People don't understand success leaves clues. When you can do one thing successfully, if you put your all into something. See, so many people are just freaking lazy. Can I just be real about the situation? Like, it's like the whole good enough mindset. Now, here's the thing. There's a point where good enough makes sense when it's taking you too much time, right? People like to overplan and overdo it. No, nobody's talking about like that. But when you don't even put the freaking effort into to be at the top levels, like you need to be in the top 20, top 10% of whatever it is that you're doing before you can say, oh, that's good enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on now with all that, right? There's a difference between good and great. And if you want to, attack greatness, man, you got to develop that stuff, man. So, man, I love that. That's what I'm talking about. Fire. All right. So now we were talking about the keys to success. I just gave him one of the keys to success in life, period, right? But give us one of the keys to success in the automotive industry.
Well, really, as far as where I'm at now, showroom, you got to figure out a way how to stand out. And it's like the word to me, showroom, is super important because it's once somebody walks through that door, if my appointment comes in or if it's an up that's coming in, it's showtime, so I really take that seriously. I when I see somebody, I put that energy out there, or even when it's internet lead that comes in and the lead comes in and I make that phone call, I wake people up. I hit them with energy as soon as they come in contact with me, and at that point on, the show, the curtains open and the show is on, so, but from the point of greeting all the way to the point of delivery, it's like I always have tricks and stuff, and I always wrap it up with like red ropes, bows on the car, and make it a really special experience for everybody that I meet. Like I don't even if it's a used car, like it doesn't matter to me. I'm like, if I'm selling a 2017 Crosstrek, or if I'm selling a 2023 Ascent, to me it doesn't matter. I try to make it as special as possible for each person I meet and make sure that they know that they're working with a person and not necessarily just somebody who's trying to sell them something.
Wow. That's fire, man. That's what I'm talking about. All right. So here's the challenge with that thought process. Let me just kind of play devil's advocate a little bit. So when people come in and you make them your friend and you make it this good experience and everything like that, sometimes people have a challenge with the money side of things, right? So how do you, because, I mean, you just spent money on bows and you said ribbons, whatever. I mean, I got to put out extra money. How do you actually how do you make money? How, you could putting out all this extra money and you're making your people your friend. I'm sure they're trying to get the best deal out of you and they trying to, lowball you and all that kind of stuff. How do you still make money?
Referrals. Because when they leave, like, my goal is, like, obviously whenever somebody buys a new car, they're gonna leave the dealership talking about their car. Wow. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're like, yo, I just got this so-and-so, this is like all this new tech and features. But like, my goal is to have people, like, when they leave the dealership, like, it's standard, they're gonna talk about the car, but I also want them to talk about me. So, and to mention my dealership and to remember me. So I do have, like, when I heard the episode with how T got your keys and she branded herself and things like that, I created a brand inside of my store called the Owners Club. So I have a whole ecosystem of things that I do, and that starts from the A to Z process when somebody gets out their car, where I'm wrapping them up in an experience called the Owners Club. So when they leave, they're talking about the Owners Club and they're talking about working with me and how it was kind of like a VIP custom tailored experience. But at the same time, it's just I'm getting people to give me everything I need to sell them a car at the same time. So like the referrals are so much easier to work with than I am working with somebody who I have to meet and greet every single time. And I still got to meet and greet my referrals, but as far as my customer TOing me with new opportunities, it's way easier with them talking about me when they leave the dealership.
Wow. That's phenomenal, man.
Happy.
I love that. All right. So everybody gonna want to know. Tell us about the Owner Club. How do you do it? Break it down for us. Tell it. And if you got some steps on it, whatever, how can you break that down to people that way they understand? If they wanted to create something like it, what would they do?
Well, first of all, at the end of the day, we're salespeople, but I market myself as a solutions expert. I don't use my dealership's business cards. I create my own business cards that instead of it saying sales associate, leasing consultant, I say solutions expert. So when I come in contact with people, and on top of that, it's like I take pride in my business cards too. Like whenever I do hand one over to somebody, they say, whoa, this is, a nice card. And the first thing I hit them with is like, well, I take my job very seriously and I'm good at what I do. So I like that to translate over. And that I'll say that, or I give this to people who buy cars from me. And it's like at that, I kind of break down a wall. It's kind of like a light joke. Then they end up buying a car from me and they're like, well, this guy's obviously professional enough to invest in himself. I've even had some of my customers ask me to develop like some marketing stuff for them, for their businesses after they saw what I do with myself. But it goes from like my business cards. I make these custom, what I call shoe boxes for gifts and stuff that I'll give to people who are getting like certified pre-owned cars. If it's at least a Subaru, then since I use branding and stuff from Subaru on my products, I'll give it to Subaru customers. If not, I have gift bags for the other ones. But essentially is I try to pick up on things that if I hear somebody say something they like, a color, I'll try to pick out a hat, a gift. Because right now, and like what I've heard from you guys, because I'm new to the industry, gross is high. And right now it's kind of regulating itself. But for the whole first year, gross was extreme. And I'm like, yo, if I'm making $1,000 off of somebody, when I meet them after 2 hours of conversation or an hour of conversation, what's like 30, 40 bucks for me to guarantee that they know that I'm thankful for their business. Because when somebody buys a car from me, I got these red ropes that I keep in front of the showroom, like, valet ropes, like at the movie theater. And I got these bows. And whenever somebody comes up and like the car comes out of detail and they're in the box, they walk outside, they see their car with the red ropes and the bow on it. And the first thing I say when they come out of finance is I'm like, obviously you're not the only person here buying a car. I was like, but you're the only person here right now buying a car from me, and that's why I got your car roped off. One, so people don't open their doors and ding into the car that I just got detailed for you, but just so you can know that I really appreciate your business. And I'm like, this is not a Mike Shaw thing. This is not a Subaru thing. This is something that I do here personally, just to show you how much I appreciate you driving past, 12, 15, 20 other dealerships just to come talk to me and to work with me and let me help solve your problem. And like that right there, if you look up my reviews online, if you were to look at the comments in my surveys from CSI, people mention, like, you could tell this guy cares about his job, and crazy at first, the rest of the salespeople in my showroom, they hated it because I even had like honestly, the guy I don't really compete with him anymore. But at first I heard about this guy from Georgia. He puts $2 bills in gas tanks. I thought that was a genius idea because like people will go 2 weeks and they'll go fill up their tank and he has his business card in there with a $2 bill. And I'm like, that's great. Like, I thought that was unique, but like I wanted to step it up a notch and I'm competitive as hell. So I'm like, all right. I came from BMW. They had their ring boxes and everything, the red carpet experience. Well, I'm at Subaru now. I don't think people need to spend BMW money to get an experience like that. But my store wasn't necessarily dedicating a service drive to me to deliver cars in. You know what I mean? So I was like, well, let me get some ropes. Let me get some bows. Let me make these custom boxes. And I do design them like shoe boxes. So like on the side, I put year and model. So like you can have like the shoe size and like the type of shoe you're getting. But like if you had like a 21, legacy touring, I could write that in on the side. So, and I always make the joke like, the next time you buy a car from me, you're going to get the next box and you're going to have the next year with the next model, depending on whatever it is, And I say, this is a way you can collect it. But the science behind it is like, I want an A to Z process where they're feeling initiated into some type of exclusive club to where even when I walk them into finance, now I have all my finance managers, whenever I bring a customer in there, instead of saying, hey, congratulations, let's get you guys back on the road, they say, hey, welcome to the Owners Club. And then they go into their whole thing because now it's a seamless experience and they just got done opening up their gift box and they're excited that when they sit down with my finance managers, they can do what they need to do, and like I work with, after I heard about Ali Reda reaching out to like local businesses to get perks and benefits for people who work with him, like, oh, if you need your car to get towed and stuff like that, reach out to me. I'm gonna make sure that you get some help. I tell people the same thing now. Like, I'm like, yo, whatever you need, give me a call. My personal number's on here, reach out to me. But I also I have a connection at WeatherTech over here in Colorado. I have a WeatherTech store and I have a lady in there who gives all of my customers 10% off anything they want whenever they want to go. And all they got to do is bring my plastic fancy business card to her and show it to her. That's like their discount card, So I tell them when we're doing the delivery and I'm doing my checklist and explaining some features, waiting for finance, I'm like, hey, by the way, this card here gets you 10% off at WeatherTech and it's an unlimited amount. You just have to go talk to Samantha over there and she's going to make sure that she takes care of you. And don't worry, it doesn't have to be for a Subaru. You can get it for any car. So if you got to get a gift for your mom or your dad, last minute gift ideas, you can go ahead and hit up WeatherTech and get a discount. But I propose that as like a perks and benefit discount for working with me. It's also part of like my appreciation package. But when they go into finance, now they have an Owners Club package, how we have the preferred when we're trying to sell all those back end products too, because I know how some stores don't get paid on back end. We do at my store. So I always try to like drop little dimes here and there about things that finance talks about later. So when they go in there, my finance managers present it after they say, hey, welcome to the Owners Club, after they just got their WeatherTech discount for being an Owners Club member. Now they have the Owners Club package, which is like the bells and everything that you could possibly need, the dent protection, replace your windshield, VSCs, all that stuff cracked over the head. And I actually never go over what the promotion is. I'm like, hey, by the way, when you go in there, there is Owners Club benefits. So depending on what you want, it is custom tailored. Whatever you need, they're going to go over a couple of things that I mentioned to you, like on the test drive and we were talking earlier. So just let them know that you're part of the owners club. But when I walk them in there and they say, welcome to the club, when they go into their presentation, it's a seamless experience. So like when I made those boxes, when I had those cards, and when it was an A to Z process, like owners club, it was a brand that I built. My back end tripled. Like I was making just as much money on the back end that I was making on the front end. So it's like the way that these sales guys at my store operate, and at first we all had a lot of tension. Now we all get along. We love each other because they see the way that I'm operating and I'm kind of changing. And some guys came up to me like, yo, can you help me develop, can you help me build boxes? And I'm like, well, I'll help you develop a custom bag, but you're not about to take my box trick, But like now, even though I'm splurging on my customers, right? They're spending so much extra money with me on the back end where it's like I might be spending $50 on them, but they just spent an extra $4,000 or $5,000 on me, which just made me an extra $400 to $500 on gross.
Love that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as far as how do I do it, how do I afford to do it? It's like, look, if it's like you don't attract flies with salt, you know what I'm saying? You get sugar, you get sweetness. You know what I'm saying? So it's all love for me. I know I can make it back if I treat somebody right,
Man, that's absolutely phenomenal. Phenomenal stories. Man, I'm telling you, he just gave a clinic, right? On the things that I love what you said, man. I took the BMW experience to Subaru. That's what I'm talking about, man. I think everybody, if you did something like that, man, it doesn't matter. You could be selling Kias, right? If you give them the high quality experience, man, I'm saying that owners club, that's fire. All right, so now let's flip the coin a little bit, because I heard you mention one of the mistakes that you see happening all throughout the automotive industry, and at your showroom, you say hating. I mean, people they see somebody successful and they just automatically start hating. What would you say are the most common mistakes that people make in the automotive industry? Because at least with hating, like you could change your thought process and go, wait a minute, let me not be a hater, let me be a congratulator, and let me get somebody to show me how to do something similar. Let me get some assistance, right? What are the mistakes that people make?
A lot of people, in my experience, this is the first showroom I've ever been in, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm gonna try to make it the only showroom I'm in, because I want to set. But some people just aren't open to learning new things. They think they got it all figured out. Like a lot of the guys that have been there for 15 years, 10 years and stuff like that, the only guy that's been there for 15 years is the only second most successful guy there besides me. And I've only been in the industry for 2 years. That guy's been in there for almost 20. Right. But he's the guy who's got the referrals and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So he was like me 20 years ago. He was the advanced one in his class, right? And I'm doing things that he's doing. And at first we had a lot of beef, but now he's like, yo, honestly, you're just like me. And now we get along, But the other guys that were doing it for like 10 years and they're just like stuck in their ways, saw what I was doing. And since it's not the old guy who was successful before them doing all those fancy tricks, and it's the guy who just came in and is making more money than them now and fixing, because the whole reason that kind of birthed the owners club, sorry to get off topic, was I had horrible CSI because I didn't know anything about surveys and like the MPS. I didn't know, I had to like tell people not to rate me below a 9. I didn't know anything about that. So I got butchered like on several surveys last year and got written up. And that's why I started doing these gift boxes, because I'm like, these new cars are kind of important. You know what I mean? But other people started like getting whacked on surveys, and that's kind of when people like woke up and turned around and they're like, yo, Anthony was like the lowest in our CSI last year and he only gets 10s now. And people write comments about him and write stories in the surveys and gets referrals. So it was like when people it really took them to mess up, and then to see that how quick I was able to flip it
Yeah.
And I tell them all the time, like, you don't have to spend as much money as me. Like, you don't have to go. I'm just extra. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like to make sure they remember me. If they come back in here, they're going to know what I look like, regardless if I got a haircut. And that's the crazy thing is, like, when I started, I had dreadlocks. Now I got short hair, and my people come in and they can recognize me, even though my hair's cut, because they had such a good time with me. And I look like a completely different person now, you know?
Yeah.
As far as adapting, like, people get stuck in just being regular, you know, like, I'm like, you guys, like, you realize these people are spending a hell of money with us and you're not making it special at all, like, you know, and you're going so quick. My rule, like, I've developed a rule for myself. If it's an up, I slow down.
Yeah.
And if it's an appointment, I speed up. Like, because of an appointment, I have all the information already. I could get them in and out within 45 minutes to an hour, you know, boom, boom, boom. But like a up, I'm not going from a meet and greet to a test drive.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not, and it kind of depends. It's circumstantial, but like for regular, if we're talking about the normal situation, like I have like a 15-minute conversation with somebody before I even start getting into the details. I'm like, oh shoot, I forgot we was here to look at a car. You know, I was like, damn, we got caught up in conversation. We was talking about the F-150 that's outside. Let me go get the keys for that real quick and we can go take a look at it. And like, I'm already 20 minutes in and we're best friends. You know, they forgot they were shopping for a car. We was talking about comic books and shit, you know? But at that point, we're looking at the car. We're best friends. We're in the car. We're talking, and we're having such a good time. And they're getting initiated into this club throughout the whole process that it just breeds success from like A to Z. Is like you slow down a little bit just to speed up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like the mistake that I see is that I'll see people up somebody, and like 30 minutes later, 20 minutes later, they're brooming the customer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, what happened? Oh, well, they don't have their trade with them. I'm like, what do you, I'm like, they got an insurance card, right? They got the VIN number, right? I'm like, look, let's work it out hypothetically. If your car comes in the condition you say it's in, we can make things like agreeable, then shoot, when we're done here, I'll help you go pick up the car.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of people just don't try enough. They're like they're into like the instant gratification of Uber Eats and like I can get food in a second, you know, I can get a deal in a second. And if the deal doesn't fall into their hands, then they're done. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I came from construction where shoot, it took me sometimes a month to complete a job. You know, so if I had to have focus and be able to slow down a little bit, work long hours, and like now this is nothing compared to that. Shoot, if I got to sit down and talk to somebody for 15 minutes before I even get into details to make it that much easier to sell the car at the end, I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? Absolutely. But if I go straight from, hey, how you doing? Oh, yeah, let's take it for a test drive. You want to buy the car? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
the way somebody explained it to me once was like, if you're on a date, you can't go in for a kiss on a first date like immediately.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That is not you're gonna get rejection every single time. But if you warm up and do everything right when you go in for it, it's gonna happen. It's gonna be natural. You're gonna like you're not gonna have the type of objections that you're gonna have if they like you.
Absolutely, man. I love what you're saying, man. So two key things that I just got out of that. Number one, a lot of times we have emotional equity on how we've always done things, right? People always, I mean, it's always been done like this. It's always been done like that, right? And we get that emotional equity and we want to stick to it, even though it's no longer working. And it may not have even worked very well from the very beginning, but hey, it was what it was, right? And then secondarily, we have this thought process that, you know, that people buy cars every day, which is not true, right? People buy cars every 4, 8, 12 years. We just sell cars every day. And so it gives us a purview that's incorrect, right? And so I love what you just broke down, man. And so now, where did you learn all this information? Like, did you read it in a book? I heard you say you listen to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast. Appreciate the shout out, right? But I mean, where were you getting do you ever read any books on marketing? How did you learn how to get good at, you know, marketing and creating all that stuff? Where'd you get that information from?
Honestly, well, a little bit was from, I used to listen to Jordan Belfort, the Wolf on Wall Street. He has a podcast. It's more of business to business sales, but there was stuff that I was able to pull from it. like putting a mirror in front of my desk when I'm on phone calls just to look at myself and dress nice so I could feel good and look good and talk good and perform good because I know I look good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I also had a short spell when I was younger. I did door-to-door sales for Kirby vacuum cleaners. And if I was able to sell somebody a $3,000 vacuum cleaner within meeting them in like 5 minutes at their doorstep, and like you got to get into somebody's house, you know what I'm saying? But like I've had a couple of background jobs where there's a little while, like when I was younger, I was a transport broker, and I was the guy who put me on was when I was getting into all that trouble when I was younger, before I got arrested and stuff. This guy used to help me with trafficking marijuana, but when I couldn't do that for him anymore, he put me on to moving vehicles for him with his like legitimate job, auto transport, right? And this guy used to wake me up. He was militant as hell, like Miss Lynette. He would wake me up like at 5 a.m. every day with him because he did it from home, and he would get me to go over the script, right? And he was never like, he said, you don't need to know the script by heart to say it on the phone every single time when you call somebody, but I want you to have it like as something to bounce back to if somebody throws you a curveball. But you can't do that unless you know it by heart. So he used to wake me up and make me go over the script 20 times in the morning. And if I would mess up one word or the pacing of it, he'd be like, start over. And like there was a couple times we was about to fight because I'm like, this is dumb. It can't be that serious.
I love it.
But like at the same time, he was absolutely right. It's like it was that serious, but it was that serious just so you can have it as ammunition. You know what I mean? Because if you don't know the path of what you're about to say, of what you're gonna go into, then you're just talking to talk, and you're just wasting your breath. You're wasting time. You're gonna talk circles around yourself, or you might talk too fast for the customer. But it's like if you know what you're gonna say, you don't gotta sound like a robot. But you use it as kind of like your syllabus, what these people are going to learn with you, or the information they're going to get from you within the conversation of this phone call or within this interview when they're sitting down at your desk, you know? Man, so like he kind of taught me the importance of like word tracks, you know? And then when I worked at Kirby doing the door-to-door sales, they taught me how to sell off of what I see. So like, how are you supposed to sell a $3,000 vacuum cleaner to somebody you just met? Well, I'm going to look at the pictures of your family on your fireplace. And I'm going to notice your kid who has asthma and be like, hey, this vacuum cleaner is going to get all the things, the pollutants out of the rug and out of their bed, blah, 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 and start selling off of things that I see and using things like that. And so if I meet somebody in the showroom and they got the Chaco sandals on, that got the Z strap, if that's what stands out to me, I'm going to look at their sandals. I'm like, dude, that's a nice pair of Chacos. I sold this guy a $50,000 Ascent. The whole time we were talking about sandals. I was like, hey man, honestly, I'll be honest with you. I'm a Teva guy. I grew up on Tevas or Tevas, whatever you call them. My brother wears Chacos. That's why I recognize yours. And he's like, oh, I've been wearing Chacos for 15 years. And I was like, damn, I didn't even know they was out 15 years ago.
Right.
You know? And like the whole time we're talking about sandals, we got down to pricing. Like, obviously, I did work in like, hey, how much you trying to spend? So I know I'm working with the right car. You know what I'm saying? So I don't shell shock them when we get to pricing. But like, by the time we got to pencil or the menu, he was like, oh yeah, that works. Signed it. we went over the deal packet, like the jacket, signed it, and then right after that, we're talking about sandals again. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, there's things that like, and that's like what I learned from Kirby. You know what I'm saying? If there's even traction, and if it didn't click with him, if he said, oh, I don't even know what these are like somebody, like I just got them as a gift, then I'm not going to go off of that. You know what I'm saying?
100%, man. So you dialed in, and then you redirect based on what the customer is saying. And I love that. I love what because you know, obviously as the blind phone master, that's my thing, scripting. I'll do it. And I always say all the time, listen, you need to learn it by heart, but that don't necessarily mean you need to learn it word for word. That don't mean that you got to say it word for word, right? But if you don't learn it word for word, you'll never be able to deliver it the way that it ought to be delivered, man. So it's so crazy to hear you say it without any prompting in it, because this is our first conversation for real, right? We talked a couple seconds before we hit record, and here you are basically saying the same things that I teach, but it just sounds so much more powerful coming from you, because listen, I'm supposed to say that, right? I'm the trainer, I'm the blind master guy, right? But you absolutely killing it, man. So just let's close this thing out by you sharing with us what you love about the automotive industry. What's the number one thing for you?
This is honestly the easiest job I ever had. Because I've only had physical labor jobs, hard jobs that I was like jobs that I kept for a long time was like I was sweating coming home dirty. And the one thing I like about automotive sales, and like I got into finance the beginning of this year, but I still love like selling because I'm still on the parking lot that I started on. Like when I was painting parking lots, I'm still there, but I'm not painting them no more. Right. I'm just parking the cars and I'm putting bows on them and ropes around the cars of the spots that I painted before. Like when people talk about working bell to bell, I'm like, boy, come on now. I was bred for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, we could do this. Let's go. You want to go home? I'm here,
100%.
So as far as like, I can make $100,000 on my first year. And I did not have to come home dirty once. I did not have to come home hurt once. I did not have to come home super late once. You know what I mean? And the thing I love about this is that like this industry, I heard you guys say it one time on one of the episodes, but it's like, if you could sell cars, we like you here. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and everybody I meet, like if I sell a car to somebody, I'm like, yo, you ever thought about getting into sales? Like if they're good at, like if we have good conversation, you know what I'm saying? I'm always trying to put people on, because I'm like, my homie put me on, it changed my life. If I could put somebody else on and change their life, I'm gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? So what I love about the automotive industry is that it's for anybody that wants to make money. It's for anybody who wants to put the effort in and to stand out, because I've seen, just in the short time that I've been here, I've seen people come and go like nothing.
Yeah, man,
but,
that's what I'm talking about. Fire.
They didn't want to do the work. I want to do the work. If you want to do the work, I think it's 1,000 times worth it.
That's what I'm talking about. You heard it here first, man. I'm telling y'all, come in here, change your daggum life. You know what I'm saying? Go. Listen, they say ABC, always be closing, right? But then you got ABR, always be recruiting, right? Always be finding people that you can absolutely change their life. And then what it does for you, man, you start wanting to step your game up, right? Because they looking at you and like trying to figure out what's happening with your finances. So you automatically increase your income because you know that you got to be a good example. So that's fire, man. That's what I'm talking about. All right, so let's close this thing out, man. I just want you to get one good closing statement. It could be something from the song. It could be anything that you want these Millionaire Car Salesman listeners to know, whether it's about you, whether it's about the industry, whether it's a motivational thing. What's something that you can go and they can hang their head on this one line? Because you definitely been dropping them today. You're going to get all kind of cha-chings, you know what I'm saying, in this podcast. But I want you to give them a quick closing statement for us real quick.
Slow down to speed up. That's what's gonna put you ahead, and for compliance reasons too. But slow down to speed up. That's what's gonna get you ahead, I think.
100%. Yeah, you know it, right? Because you can't always be trying to force people through and fast. Listen, you got to understand that, time is more important than money. So here's the situation, right? Not only is Anthony putting money into his clients, but he's also giving them time. You know what's important to a person by how they spend their time and how they spend their money. So if you're not spending time with your prospects, you can't be surprised when they don't turn into money for you. Let's just kind of break the doggone thing down, y'all. So this was absolutely phenomenal, Anthony. I appreciate you being on here. Listen, I always say, man, you are the average of the 5 people who you spend the most time with, and you've just been spending time with Mr. Anthony Castillo and the one and only L.A. Williams, Blind Master. It's your turn. Go out there and be a millionaire car salesman. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.
So there you have it, the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast. This podcast comes to you every week from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. If you have a question about the show or would like the chance to become a guest, feel free to contact us directly at 856-546-2440 or email us at millionairecarsalesman@gmail.com. This program is a presentation of Synergy Records, produced by Tiana Mick and L.A. Williams. Production and engineering by L.A. Williams. The Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast is hosted every week by L.A. Williams and the Millionaire Car Salesman himself, Sean V. Bradley. The Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast can be found everywhere, so please don't forget to review, subscribe to, and share the show. Thanks for listening to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, and remember, where I'm from, money provides options. If you enjoyed this podcast, then make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave us a review. Let some other folks know about it. Oh, and don't forget to join the Millionaire Car Salesman group on Facebook. We'll see you there.